Hello there, everybody. Hola a todos, and welcome to the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE video tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're going to look at techniques for the topic-based conversation. This is a very important part of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam that every student will actually do. And we're going to go and have a look at this in depth in this video. So, first of all, my name's Dhananjay Talwar, and I studied French and Italian for my MA at the University of Cambridge. I graduated back in 2015, some time ago now, and I've been in the field of education ever since that time. I have learned over 20 languages in all to different levels, and that includes at least 9 different ones to fluency. So it's something that I really enjoy, something I'm very passionate about, and I love to inspire and help students to achieve their language learning goals, giving them the methods to do so and to enjoy themselves while doing so as well. And those goals often include target grades in exams like GCSEs. So far, I've helped more than 500 students to achieve or even exceed their target grade in languages for GCSE or iGCSE exams while a full-time tutor. I have taught around 8 languages so far for GCSE and iGCSE exams, with several of those at higher levels as well. So these are the Spanish GCSE and iGCSE exam boards, first of all. So there are, as of August 2025, 4 exam boards for GCSE Spanish and 2 for iGCSE Spanish. And there can be some variation from exam board to exam board. So I recommend being aware of which exam board you particularly are taking as early as possible. However, the good news is that this video is relevant for students of all exam boards, all of these exam boards in bold here, which is every single one as of August 2025, because the topic-based conversation will be a part of your speaking exam. You will be evaluated in topic-based conversations in some way, shape, or form, regardless of your exam board. So listen out, because this video should be useful for everyone. Okay, the topic-based conversation is generally the last part of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam, again, regardless of your exam board. It is a conversation that takes place between the examiner and the student, of course, during which the student has to spontaneously answer topic-based questions. And I use the word spontaneously because these are not scripted out and cannot be predicted in the same way that many other elements or parts of the speaking exam can be predicted. For example, during your 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time, you'll often be able to prepare what to say for the role play, if you're doing that, or photo card if you're doing that, or even the reading aloud task if you have to do that, but not so much for the topic-based conversation. You can't predict exactly what topic area that would be based on, and exactly which questions you'll be asked as well. The topic-based conversation often covers 2 themes. That used to always be the case, but AQA and Pearson at Excel GCSE, wanting to be a bit different, have very recently changed their syllabus and format a little bit for language exams for GCSE from 2026 onwards. And so I believe the topic-based conversations for those exam boards can just cover 1 theme rather than 2. But in general, you would cover 2 themes for the topic-based conversation. That's the most common. The questions in the topic-based conversation, as mentioned, are unseen. You cannot predict exactly what questions are going to come up. Therefore, you cannot predict exactly how to respond or prepare for the topic-based conversation in exactly the same way as you could for other parts of your speaking test. The examiner will ask the student questions covering a range of tenses. That should inevitably be the case, regardless of what your tier is, whether you're doing foundation or higher tier, or which specific exam board you're following as well. So expect questions that prompt the use of the present tense, but also definitely prompting past and future tenses too. You should answer using a range of tenses as well. The topic-based conversation is certainly not the place to be shy or to give one word or limited answers. I would definitely try and expand every single answer if possible. and try and use a variety of different grammar structures too. That includes, particularly for Spanish, which is a language with so many different verb tenses, that includes a range of different tenses. So try and answer in the present tense, incorporate some of the past and future tenses, potentially other ones as well, say continuous tenses or less common tenses could be used too to really stand out. And if you haven't used a specific tense over the course of the topic-based conversations, then the examiner would normally ask a question to prompt the use of that tense, such as past tense or future tenses. Okay, here are my best tips for topic-based conversations as part of your speaking exam. So do expand on your answers. I'll try and expand on every single answer. Try to aim for at least 2 to 3 sentences per answer, but generally it is safer to say more rather than too little. We're certainly not in the role play here. The role play is by nature a very different part of the Spanish GCSE or iGCSE speaking exam. In the topic-based conversation, you are required to expand on your answers and to vary the language in your answers much more in order to get closer to the top marks. And that is true to some extent even for foundation tier students, regardless of your exam board or target grade as well. Use a range of tenses and topic-specific vocabulary. Certainly, you cannot score close to top marks in the topic-based conversation without varying your tenses. So if you just stick with the present tense, say, which is the first tense that most students will learn, that is not enough to get anywhere near the top marks in the topic-based conversation. You should vary your tenses. You should include at least past tenses and future tenses at a minimum as well. And often, as we said, the question will prompt the use of certain tenses. So, for example, if they ask what you did last weekend, you're more likely to respond using past tenses as it's more natural. If they ask, what are you going to do next summer, you're more likely to use future tenses or perhaps the conditional for that kind of answer. Do use a range of tenses. Spanish has many different verb tenses and different verb forms. There's the subjunctive mood that can be used, although it's more advanced. Other tenses, so the continuous tenses in between, formed using estar plus the gerund. Quite a wide range of tenses overall. So try to vary those when answering in the topic-based conversation. Try also to use topic-specific vocabulary. This is easier for some topic areas than for others. Actually, harder topics, or topics that are typically harder, tend to have more topic-specific vocab, such as the environment, for example, which is maybe the one hardest topic area for most students. And if you're answering questions on that kind of a topic, then do try and use some topic-specific words to boost your grade. And of course, make sure to revise vocabulary, key vocabulary across all of the topic areas before your speaking exam. You can't just bank on certain topics coming up in your exam, as that is unpredictable. Prepare all topic areas, therefore, that could come up in advance. Don't be tempted to leave some of them out and just gamble on them not coming up in the exam, as that is very risky. Make sure that you answer the question. Sometimes students will simply give the answer that they want to give, rather than answering what the question itself is actually asking for. So it is really important to pay attention to what the examiner says and to make sure your answer is relevant to the question at all times. This often happens as well when students script out their answers. This depends somewhat on your school, but many schools will still get students to write out model answers for all of the questions that can most commonly come up in the topic-based conversation section of the speaking exam. And then students will generally have to, they'll get those answers checked and corrected, and then simply memorize those answers ahead of the speaking exam. This can save a lot of time and effort. Some people might say that it takes away the merits of the speaking test because you're no longer learning how to actually speak in Spanish, which could well seem like a valid point. However, many students will do this. So if you're doing this, you're not the only one. Many students across different schools and levels will script out model answers that they then try to simply memorize ahead of the speaking test. But if you do that, and it can be a very useful tactic, if you do so, though, make sure that you do not simply provide a pre-rehearsed or pre-memorized answer If the question is slightly different, then you're going to have to tailor that answer and adapt it somewhat to the actual question. You can't reel off a pre-rehearsed or pre-memorized answer that is not actually fully relevant to the question. Your answer must be fully relevant to the question, always. And lastly, memorize key phrases. This is something I mention a lot, and that's because I think it's really useful for all students, no matter what grade they're targeting. Key phrases can include, say, phrases which contain subjunctive forms, different ways to express your opinion, different conjunctions, and a lot more, different or more complex grammatical or verb forms. And memorizing a bunch of these, say 5 to 10 of these, before you go into your speaking exam, just even a day or two before potentially, can really boost your grade. And it can do so without requiring too much extra effort, because memorizing a bunch of 5 to 10 phrases should not be hugely onerous. So that is something I really recommend. And I do have lists of these key phrases for each language for GCSE and iGCSE as well. Okay, now I'm going to take you through a few examples. So these are 5 different examples of very, very common questions that typically can come up in the topic-based conversation section of your exam. Again, regardless of which exact exam board or level you're studying. So for each of these, I will state the question. You'll find my ideal or recommended answer given just below in orange, and then a translation of that just further down in English. So take a bit of time to read through each of these, and I will point out the most salient features as well. These examples are also taken from a range of different topic areas. Of course, the topic-based conversation will be based on very specific topic areas, but these are just examples, so they're taken from quite a variety of different topic areas. The first one would be the house. So the question in red is Describe tu casa, describe your house. You can see my ideal or model answer just below in orange. And yeah, I'll point out some of the features here of that answer. So I have tried to vary my grammar in particular. That's what I've really focused on above all in most of these answers. I've used a more complex grammar form, which could be counted as a key phrase as well, which is si pudiera, here followed by the infinitive of the verb elegir, and then conditional tense, no lo cambiaría. That is, yeah, if I could, if I had the choice, I would not change it. Yeah. So that is a much more advanced structure, which would typically appeal to GCSE or iGCSE Spanish examiners. Other than that, I have used another imperfect subjunctive form here, quisiera que fuera un poco más grande. And again here, para que toda la familia pudiera comer junta. So things like subjunctive verb forms, especially the imperfect subjunctive, can be used to really show off and vary your language as much as possible to wow the examiners. Other than that, I've used some topic-specific vocabulary specific to the house, such as when describing the rooms, dormitorios, cuartos de baño, un salón, una cocina. So all of that can count as some topic-specific vocabulary. I've tried to make sure my answer is very relevant to the exact question. I've gone into detail, so I've not stopped at only 2 or 3 sentences even. I've expanded slightly beyond that and made sure that my answer is all accurate in Spanish. These are the key things to score the marks. Okay, now this is example number 2. And this is based on a different topic area, specifically that of spare time or free time activities. So the question is given in red at the top. ¿Qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? What do you like to do in your free time? My ideal or model answer is just below in orange. And then below that is the translation of the model answer in English. So I'll let you read through this, but also just draw your attention to some features again of the answer. So I've used some C clauses again. The first one is C followed by the present tense and then present tense again. So it's less impressive because I'm sticking to the present tense. But C clauses or if clauses can definitely be used to impress the examiners. I have then tried to vary my tenses. So even though this particular question is very general in nature, it's just asking what do you like to do generally in your free time. I have talked about specific days and things that I've done on specific days, such as last weekend, just in order to vary my language and to allow me to use different tenses much more. So here I've used the preterite tense, di un paseo, and a slightly irregular preterite tense form from the verb dar, to give. And I've also tried to use the future tense. So ire is the future tense from the verb ir, to go. Veremos is the future tense of the verb ver, to see. And perhaps slightly more idiomatic or advanced phrases like tener ganas de, to want to, or to look forward to, essentially, as well. So a little bit of topic-specific vocabulary, but generally it's the grammar that I focused on and tried to vary away from only using simple tenses like the present tense. And I've made sure that my answer is extremely relevant to the question as well. Okay, example number 3 now. So this is based on the topic of holidays, that topic area. Question again is given in red at the top. ¿A dónde fuiste de vacaciones el año pasado? ¿Con quién? ¿Qué hicisteis? Which means, where did you go on holiday last year? With who? What did you do? My ideal or model answer is given just below in orange, and then you'll find the translation in English. So this particular question is a little bit different to the two previous ones that we saw because it's mostly geared towards using past tenses, and quite clearly as well because it's asking about the past. What did you do? Where did you go on holiday last year? With who? And what did you do? So you're more likely to naturally tend to use past tenses when answering this question. And you can certainly use the questions themselves in the topic-based conversations to guide you as to what tenses to provide in your answer. Although you don't necessarily have to stick exactly to those. But that's what I've largely done here. I've used mainly past tenses, but even within that, I've tried to use a variety of different past tenses. So not just sticking to, say, the preterite tense, which is a bit limited. I have used a lot of preterite forms, including irregulars like fuimos, preterite of the verb ser, in the preterite tense. Pasé, which is a regular preterite tense of the verb pasar. Hice, which is irregular from the verb hacer. Vi, which is slightly irregular, perhaps from the verb ver, to see. But I've also used an imperfect, hacía, of the verb hacer, just to vary the tenses more, and I've used a present tense too, viven. So I've tried to vary my tenses as I have done generally in each of these answers. I've used some slightly more advanced vocabulary, perhaps, like desventaja, disadvantage, grados, degrees, as in for temperature, and so on. Perhaps even verbs like quedarse, to stay in a place, might be slightly more advanced, possibly. I've been very careful to give all of the details that the question itself is asking for. So I've provided details of where exactly I went for my holidays last year. I've also clearly stated who I went with and what I did as well in a little bit of detail. And I've generally expanded a bit when providing every single one of those details too. Okay, now time for example number 4. The question again is given in red, which is ¿Qué vas a hacer para celebrar tu próximo cumpleaños? Meaning, what will you do to celebrate your next birthday? My ideal or model answer is given below in orange, and then the translation is provided in English. So you'll notice, of course, that this question is again slightly different because it prompts most students to use future tenses, maybe even the conditional as well. But this is clearly talking about the future, so you're likely to want to use future tenses naturally when answering this sort of a question, as it's asking what you're going to do for your next birthday. So that's what I've done. I've used some future tenses. For example, se divertirán, future tense of divertirse, to enjoy oneself, which is a reflexive verb too, so potentially a little bit more impressive. And invitaré is the future of invitar, to invite. But I've definitely made sure to use some harder verb forms too. Me gustaría is the conditional. So again, varying it from only using the future tense. Jugáramos and fuéramos, those imperfect subjunctive forms from the verbs jugar and ser, respectively. So those are much more advanced verb forms and tend to be typically associated with the highest grades for GCSE and iGCSE language exams. Perhaps some more complex vocabulary, such as juegos de mesa, board games. Yeah, and those are the main features of this particular answer. Again, I've gone into some detail. For sure, I haven't stopped at just one or two sentences. I've gone beyond that, which is important. I've kept the language all accurate, particularly in terms of grammar. And I've provided all of the necessary details to answer the question, which is asking specifically about my next birthday. So those are all the things I would particularly focus on. And let's go to example number 5. This is the final one, which is actually on a topic area that tends to be particularly difficult for many students, if not the hardest one for Spanish GCSE or iGCSE exams, which is the environment. So the question is given at the top in red. ¿Qué haces para proteger el medio ambiente? Which means, what do you do to protect the environment? My suggested or model answer is below in orange, and then the translation of that is given in English. So I have tried to use, specifically for this topic area, above all, I've tried to use some topic-specific words. Apagar las luces, for instance, to switch off the lights. Usar el transporte público, to use public transport. Reciclar, to recycle. A fairly commonly known verb, but also one that is specific to this topic. Productos locales, local products as well. I have used some more complex grammar as well. If there's one thing to really focus on above anything else, it would be varying the grammar forms. So I've used si pudiera me gustaría, si followed by the imperfect subjunctive and then conditional tense, which tends to very much wow examiners too. Another conditional tense here, debería, from the verb deber. A present subjunctive too. Es muy importante que todo el mundo haga. Haga is the present subjunctive of the verb hacer, to do or make. And yeah, I've used some more complex language in order to directly wow the examiners and increase my marks. I've definitely been careful to include some topic-specific words, and the environment is perhaps a topic area that lends itself to that. And try to definitely expand and go into quite full detail in this answer as well, and made sure to remember things like agreements between adjectives and nouns, and verbs and their subject too. Okay, time now for a quick quiz to test your understanding of topic-based conversations in the speaking exam. Question number 1 is it best to stick to one-sentence answers in a topic-based conversation? I did mention this a few times, so no excuses if you don't get this one correct. But let me give you a little bit of time to think through it before I show you the answer. Okay, I'm going to click for the answer now. So I would definitely try to expand your answers to 2 to 3 sentences at least, because this is the topic-based conversation. You do not want to stick with just 1 or 2 sentence answers. It is safer or better to say more rather than too little. Watch out for the examiner as well, because with their hand gestures, they will often give you cues as to what they want you to do. If they indicate this, it may mean that they want you to slow down or stop, for instance. They may also indicate in some way that they want you to carry on talking. So that can also be a useful guide. Question 2 is true or false. You should show off your language during the topic-based session. Okay, let me give you some seconds to think through this too. Okay, and let me show the answer for this one now. This one is true, but as long as you can do so correctly, it's very important that you're confident in showing off your language and in using each of the structures that you do use to show off your language correctly, because otherwise you wouldn't get the credit for it. If you don't show off the language in the topic-based conversation part of your speaking exam, then you never will, in a sense, because this is the area, the part of the speaking exam where it's most useful to show off and to vary your language, particularly in terms of grammar, as much as you realistically can. Question for false again. You can prepare for the topic-based conversation during your preparation time. The preparation time here means those 10 to 15 minutes that you get to prepare all of the material with an invigilator just before you go into the room for your speaking exam. So can you prepare for the topic-based conversation in that preparation time? Let me show you the answer now. This one is false. You do not know exactly what questions are going to come up in your topic-based conversation or conversations, and therefore it's much more difficult to prepare for the topic-based conversation. You could in your preparation time, and you do have plenty of other things to prepare for inevitably in your preparation time too. You could, but only if you do have the time available, potentially try and predict the most common questions if you know what topic area will come up in your topic-based conversation. But this is rather difficult to do, and there are generally other fish to fry and other areas to concentrate on during that 10 to 15 minutes of preparation time. Now, question number 4. Will the examiner ask you questions in a range of different tenses? I'll give you a bit of time before I show you the answer for this too. Okay, and let me reveal the answer to this one. So the answer is yes. The examiner will certainly ask you questions using the past, present, and future tenses. In fact, the examiner will often base their questions on your responses. So if you forget to use certain tenses, particularly common ones that you should hopefully be using, like preterite or imperfect tense, then the examiner is much more likely to ask you questions prompting those tenses, say asking you about things in the past. What did you do last week for your last birthday, and so on. If you forget to use, say, future or conditional tenses, the examiner is much more likely to ask you questions geared towards using those tenses, like asking you what you might do for your next birthday, what you're going to do tomorrow, and so on. So the examiner is there to help you as well. Okay, if you've got questions about any of this, or you'd like to know more about more personalized help, which I do provide as well, you can get in touch by email or through Facebook or Instagram. Now, I do post every single day on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, sharing my passion for languages with people, encouraging them to learn languages, making sure they know the benefits of doing so, and efficient and fun ways to learn languages too. So I highly recommend checking out these handles on each of these platforms and giving a follow. I do post a lot of content to do with GCSE and iGCSE for languages as well, including how you can maximize your grade, revise as well as possible, and more. I have many resources available, including free resources for GCSE and iGCSE languages, including Spanish. And I offer one-to-one classes, group classes, courses, and more. So if you'd like to know more information about any of that, just get in touch.